Seattle lived under its eternal rain. The gray sky seemed to hang low over the glass towers of skyscrapers, pressing down and hiding the sunlight from people. Water slid down windows, bus roofs, and the few passers-by wrapped in coats and jackets. Emily Lawrence hurried along the slippery pavement, clutching a leather folder with blueprints to her chest. The wind blew straight into her face. Her umbrella flipped inside out and snapped against a gust. She closed it and ran under the building's awning. It was an old brick building that housed the New Light architecture firm, where Emily had been working for the past 3 years. At 28, she considered herself neither young nor old, somewhere in between. Too young to be completely disillusioned, yet old enough to know the cost of routine. She passed through the turnstile, greeted the guard, and went up to the 4th floor. Inside, everything was familiar. The smell of coffee from the shared kitchen, the rustle of paper, the clicking of computer mice. Colleagues chatted about deadlines. Someone was arguing with a contractor on the phone. Work absorbed her, but it didn't save her from thoughts of home. Thomas, her husband, her peer. They had once met at a friend's party and fallen in love quickly, like in the movies. Their bond had seemed strong, but over time, his love turned into habit. Thomas was a programmer. He worked at a large IT company and spent as much time at home behind his laptop as he did at the office. Their conversations rarely went beyond, "Did you buy bread?" or "Do you have plans for the weekend?" And it was killing Emily. In the evenings, she sat at her desk sketching. Sometimes he would glance at her drawings and say, "Looks nice." But it sounded as automatic as saying, "Thanks, at a store." More and more often, she felt an emptiness ringing inside her. One rainy Tuesday, a new client came into the office. His name was Jason Marlowe. About 35, tall, confident, with a casual elegance, an expensive jacket but no tie, the top button of his shirt undone. He owned a chain of coffee shops and wanted to build a new flagship store, a showpiece for his business. The department head introduced Emily. "This is Emily Lawrence, our best architect for modern projects. She'll be handling your order." Jason smiled and shook her hand. His handshake was warm and firm. "So, you're the one who's going to make me believe concrete can be beautiful?" Emily blushed slightly. "I'll do my best," she replied. They went into the meeting room. Emily spread out drawings and sketches. Usually she felt shy presenting her ideas, but this time she felt surprisingly at ease. Jason listened attentively, never interrupting, asking thoughtful questions, looking directly into her eyes. And that was unusual. Thomas never listened to her like that. After the meeting, Jason lingered a moment. "You've got talent, Emily. It's clear you love what you do." Her heart fluttered. No one had said such words to her with real sincerity in a long time. The project stretched on for weeks. Jason kept coming to the office, sometimes to discuss new details, sometimes to suggest changes to the facade, sometimes just to ask about the lighting. Emily couldn't tell if he was so absorbed in the building or simply looking for an excuse to see her. One evening they ended up alone. Everyone else had already gone. Rain streamed down the windows, reflecting the city lights. Jason stood at the window, gazing outside. "You know what I love about Seattle?" he asked. "The rain. It washes away what doesn't matter. Leaves only the truth." Emily smiled. "I've always found it suffocating. Too much gray." He turned toward her. "Then you're the color among all this gray." The words were simple, but his voice carried no pretense. Emily felt something stir inside her. He stepped closer, glancing at her sketches. "Is Thomas proud of you?" She lowered her eyes. "We don't really talk about it." "That's a shame," Jason said softly. "If you were with me, I'd say it every day." Emily recoiled slightly. "Don't. Sorry." He smiled gently. "I just said what I felt." The spark between them was already burning, but both pretended not to see the fire. Evenings with Thomas had become torture. He sat with his laptop, headphones on, distant. Sometimes he looked up briefly. "How's work?" "Fine," she replied. And that was it. Emily looked at him and thought, "I'm becoming invisible to my own husband." One day, Jason invited her for coffee. "Just coffee," he said. "I just want to talk outside the office." They met at a cozy cafe on Pike Street. In the evening, it was quiet. They sat by the window. Outside, the rain was falling again. "Emily," Jason said after a pause, "I don't want to destroy your life, but I can't deny what I feel." She froze. Her heart pounded so loudly it seemed the whole city could hear. "This is wrong," she whispered. He gently touched her hand. "Maybe, but don't you feel it too?" She didn't answer, but she didn't pull her hand away either. In that moment, the line they weren't supposed to cross was already behind them. Emily kept telling herself that nothing had really happened. Just coffee, just a hand brushing against her hand. But that night, lying next to Thomas, who had fallen asleep facing the wall as usual, she felt for the first time that her heart no longer belonged to him. A week later, Jason invited her again, this time to his office, officially to discuss layouts. But the conversation quickly shifted. "You know," he said, sitting across from her, "I often think about how hard it must be for you." "Why would you think that?" Emily asked, avoiding his eyes. "Because your eyes are too sad for a woman your age." The tears came on their own. She hadn't cried in years, not even during fights with Thomas. But Jason's words broke through her armor. He came closer, embraced her, and she didn't pull away. The kiss felt natural, as if they'd been waiting for it their whole lives. From that moment, her double life began. She lied to Thomas. "I have to stay late at work. We got a meeting. I need to meet with a contractor." He nodded without questions. His eyes showed no suspicion, only fatigue. But each of those meetings turned into time with Jason. At first just a few hours, then entire nights. His 22nd floor apartment overlooking the bay became her refuge. There, she laughed, she felt alive. But every time she returned home, guilt gnawed at her. Thomas sat on the couch with his laptop. "You're tired," he would say. "A little," she replied, her voice trembling. Lies became a habit. But her heart was splitting into two worlds. Thomas wasn't a fool. First, he noticed her phone had become too important to her. She took it even to the bathroom, left it face down. She never used to do that. Then her scent, a faint trail of unfamiliar perfume on her clothes. He said nothing, but he knew. One night, he woke and saw Emily in the kitchen, lit by the lamp, typing a message, then quickly deleting it. Her eyes held a glow he hadn't seen in years, not with him. At work, rumors spread. Colleagues whispered, "She's too close with Jason." Emily pretended not to hear. But inside, everything shook like fragile glass ready to shatter. And the cracks grew more visible. The truth came suddenly. One day, Thomas accidentally mixed up her bag with his and found a key inside, not to their apartment. He waited until she was asleep and drove to the address. The door opened easily. The apartment was spacious, with panoramic windows. On the coffee table stood 2 mugs. Next to them lay Emily's scarf. Thomas sat in silence for several minutes, staring out at the rain streaking the glass. Everything became clear without words. When Emily returned home, he was sitting in the living room, holding her scarf. His face was calm, too calm, like a mask. "How long?" he asked quietly. She froze. "Thomas, how long have you been sleeping with him?" he repeated. The tears burst out. "A few months." The words hit like a hammer. Thomas dropped the scarf to the floor and stood up. "You destroyed everything." He went into the bedroom, leaving her in the hallway. Emily stood there, paralyzed. Inside, it felt like a glass wall had crashed down on her. The next days were a nightmare. Thomas stayed silent. He ate, slept, went to work, came back, all without words. Between them rose a wall taller than any skyscraper. One evening, he said flatly, "I filed for divorce." Emily tried to explain, to beg forgiveness, to say it was a mistake, that she was confused. But he didn't listen. "You made your choice," he said. "Now live with it." But Jason had changed too. At first, he had been attentive, supportive. But when he learned about the divorce, his eyes shifted. "Emily, I never wanted to destroy your life," he said. "I thought it was supposed to be easy." "Easy." Her voice shook. "You said you loved me." He looked away. I said what I felt, but I'm not ready for all this. And he began to vanish. His calls grew shorter, their meetings rarer. In the end, Emily was left alone. Seattle moved on with its life. Rain still streamed down skyscraper windows, hiding people behind wet reflections. Emily stood on the roof of a building, staring down. Cars moved, people hurried on. The city didn't notice her pain. She had lost everything. The husband who once was her world. The man who became her temptation. And worst of all, herself. Before her stretched the glass sky. Beautiful but cold. It reflected her face, but distorted it, making it unfamiliar. Emily closed her eyes. In her mind, she heard Thomas's words. You made your choice. She understood there was no way back. The click of a closing door, that was her whole life. The door was shut forever now. And beneath the glass sky, there was only her, alone with an emptiness that could never be filled.